Ladies and gentlemen, federal employees, welcome to this episode. If you are within 5 years of wanting to retire as a federal employee, you are in the right spot. You are watching the right video. Now, if you just want to retire, you may not want to watch the rest of this video. But if you want to retire, not just a normal time, but a great retirement, a retirement that you look forward to, that you're excited for, that you're going to enjoy to the fullest, then again, you are in the right spot. Because a lot of people retire, but a lot of people retire in a way that stresses them out, that they're not truly comfortable in the way they want. They don't have the retirement that they want, and I don't want that to be you. So here are 5 things that you need to make sure you are on top of if you are within 5 years of retirement. Because there's a lot of things right at this zone. It's crunch time where you got to make sure these things are squared away because you're running out of time to make changes. Okay, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Dallin Haas. I'm a financial planner serving you as federal employees, helping you guys retire comfortable and confident. And there's tons of great resources in the YouTube description to help you get the most out of all your benefits. Okay, let's dive in. Number 1, the first thing you have to truly understand, like the back of your hand, is are you eligible to retire? Most people don't understand this fully. Some people do, but most people don't. So, do you understand the rules about being eligible to retire as a federal employee? Because you can't just leave the government at any time and to get all your benefits. No, you can't. You have to retire at certain ages and certain years of service benchmarks to be able to get all of your benefits. Okay, here are the big ones. I'm not going to go into depth. I've got another video and article on my website, haasfederaladvisors.com, that talks about all the things about being eligible to retire and when you could retire as a federal employee. So definitely go check that out. Now, long short, here are the big ones. If you're a normal, traditional FERS employee, these are the big ones to watch out for. If you're at your minimum retirement age, which is dependent on your birthday, but it's between 56 and 57. Okay, for most of you, it's probably going to be 57. If you're trying to retire at that age, you have to have at least 30 years of service to retire, get a pension right away, keep your health insurance, and not have any reductions to your pension. If you have fewer years than 30, you can still retire at your minimum retirement age as long as you have at least 10, but you're going to have reductions to your pension, which I cover on a video called MRA plus 10 retirement. So you could definitely check that out, okay? So that's the first one. If you're retiring at your MRA between 56 and 57, you have to have at least 30 years of service, or there's going to be consequences. Long story short, you may be okay with the consequences, but there's going to be consequences, and your pension is going to be cut accordingly. Okay. The next requirement is you have to, if you want to retire at age 60 or later, you have to have at least 20 years of service. Okay, that's the next one. Now, if you retire age 62 and later, all you need is 5 years of service. So the older you get, the fewer years of service that you can retire with and get full benefits. And when I say full benefits, I'm talking about you being able to keep your health insurance into retirement, about you getting a pension right away, about you keeping, let's say, life insurance and have access to the dental and vision. All the benefits that you might want into retirement that are important to you are going to be tied to a certain type of retirement. Now, again, I'm not going to go into depth, but you have to know that. So definitely check those videos out if you want to make sure you are eligible. If you are eligible for the one of the 3 that I already mentioned, whether it's your MRA between 56 and 57 with at least 30 years, or age 60 with 20 years or 62 and 5, if you meet any of those criteria already, then you are good to go. Now, you may be eligible, but we'll talk about one of the other 5 things we're going to talk about today that you have to double check before. Even if you're eligible to retire, you may not be ready to retire. Okay, let's go on. Number 2, the second thing you have to make sure is in order, especially within 5 years of retirement, is your TSP. Your TSP is one of the most important benefits because it's going to provide, hopefully, a whole lot of income for you in retirement, but not just income, but control. It gives you flexibility. It gives you the power to create the retirement that you want because just like your pension and Social Security, those things are great benefits, okay? However, you have limited control over them, okay? Your TSP is the one that gives you control over your life. And that's the one you want to make sure is really dialed in, okay? First things first, during your career, while you're investing in the TSP, there's certain strategies where you want to be pretty aggressive with your investments. As you approach retirement, the strategy changes. And you want to make sure you have a good strategy for you. Long story short, I've got other videos on how to invest as you approach retirement. Okay, so definitely go back to my website, haasfederaladvisors.com. Up at the top, you can basically pick all the articles based on topic, okay? Based on whether it's about the TSP or your pension or health insurance, whatever. You can search my articles, all my videos based on topic. So that can definitely help you out, okay? Long story short, when it comes to when you approach retirement, the one thing you should not do is move all your money to the G fund. I see this all the time, and you should not do this, okay? The vast majority of the time, this is not a good move. What you want is you want some money in the G fund, certainly, but not all of it. You want some money to be safe and ready to go so that when you retire, you have safe money that you can use and spend and enjoy. But at the same time, you want to make sure your money never runs out. You want to make sure you can live to a ripe old age and still have money the whole time and never have to worry about it. You don't want to be pinching pennies in retirement. You need a mixed approach, okay? Check out my other videos about investing in retirement. Again, this video, it's not going to go into depth into all 5 of these. I don't have time to do that for all 5. This would be a long video. I just want to give you a taste of the things you need to be really watching out for so that if you're like, oh man, maybe I do need to look at my TSP, go check out those videos and then you can tailor it for you, okay? That's number 2. Okay, number 3. Number 3 that you want to make sure, especially as you're approaching retirement, is making sure all of your records about your career are first there, that your agency has them, and that they're correct, okay? So first, SF50s, your standard form 50s are some of the most important documents you have when it comes to proving that you had the career that you say you had, okay? Those are the documents. If you go to your official personnel folder, all right, EOPF, as they might call it. If you don't know how to get that, talk to a coworker, talk to your HR. They'll be able to show you. And in there should be all your SF50s. Those forms are going to show all the big changes to your career. You want to make sure you have record of your entire career and that those things are accurate. Okay? If there's mistakes on them, if there's typos on them, it's going to cause issues when you retire. It just will. You want to make sure those are all accounted for. Now, you may be asking, okay, isn't that kind of default? That's the government's job to keep my record straight. They have to all be there, right? And the answer is no. There's mistakes all the time. There's records missing all the time. And the last thing you want is to be planning to retire next month, then to realize your records are missing, you have to work longer. Or then to realize OPM is missing records and it's going to take you 2 years to actually receive a pension in retirement. It causes lots of issues. Just trust me on this one. Make sure your records are solid, rock solid before you get there, okay? That was number 3. Number 4, FEHB. All right, say it with me, FEHB, your health insurance. That is one of the most powerful benefits you have as a federal employee because not only can you have great health insurance while you're working, but you could keep that same health insurance into retirement and the government continues to pay their portion, okay? So if you didn't know, the government pays about 70-75% of your health insurance costs. So whatever you're paying on a monthly basis, multiply that by 3 or 4, and that's what they are paying for your health insurance as well. So it's a great benefit. Now, not everyone can take into retirement. And this is what you want to check at least 5 years out, okay? First and foremost, you want to check that you're eligible to retire in a type of retirement that it makes you eligible to keep your health insurance because not all types of retirement are. If you are eligible to retire in the types of retirement I mentioned at the beginning of this video for number 1, then you're good. Those are types that can allow you to keep health insurance into retirement. Now, there's one other rule though that you have to meet to be able to keep your health insurance into retirement, and that is you have to be covered under FEHB for the 5 years before retirement. Okay, so let's do an example. If you've been covered under FEHB your entire career, you're good. You don't have to worry about it. As long as you are eligible to retire with an immediate retirement, a full-blown retirement, you're good because you've been under FEHB your entire career. No problems. However, if you decide, hey, look, my spouse who's a non-federal employee has a great plan that's actually pretty cheap. I want to go jump over there and you're not covered under FEHB, you want to get back into FEHB. So you can start that 5-year clock because let's say there's a break. You can't have any breaks in those 5 years before retirement. Now, there's a couple exceptions here. Exception number 1 is if you are on TRICARE. Okay, if you're on TRICARE, that can be an exception to this rule, okay, allowing you to keep FEHB into retirement, even if during some of the 5 years you just had TRICARE and not FEHB. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, if your spouse is also a federal employee and you are covered under their FEHB plan, that still counts. It doesn't matter. You don't have to necessarily carry the health insurance. As long as you're covered under an FEHB plan, whether it's yours or your spouse's, you're fine, okay? Those are the big things to consider. Again, you have to be eligible for a full-blown retirement to keep your health insurance, and you have to be covered under FEHB for the 5 years before retirement. Make sure you get that right. I've seen some massive bloopers that people lose their insurance, or they have to work an extra 5 years to be able to keep the benefits that they want. Keep that in mind, okay? All right, last but certainly not least, when it comes to being 5 years out from retirement, you have to start nailing down whether or not you can afford to retire. So number one was, are you eligible to retire? That is a very different question from, can you afford to retire? Okay? Being able to afford to retire is saying, okay, what income am I going to have in retirement? And is that enough to give me the retirement that I want? Because you could retire, right? Anyone could stop working, but it's a much smaller group who could stop working and have the retirement that they dream of. That's a different group, right? That is a much, much smaller group because they did the proper planning and the proper work to be able to have the income they want. So for you as a federal employee, the main sources of income that you're going to have, of course, a pension from the federal government, which is amazing. You may have the FERS supplement. If you don't know what that is, definitely check my videos on the FERS supplement at my website. You're going to have Social Security starting at 62, anywhere from 62 and 70 is when you could start that, right? And you're going to have your TSP. So you have to truly understand how all 3 or 4 of those income sources are going to work. If you don't understand how any of them work, or if one of them works, you're going to be in the dark about exactly what income you're going to have in retirement. And that is a not fun place to be. For example, let's say you took a job, okay, but they said, hey, I'm not going to actually tell you what you're going to get paid, okay? It's just going to be a surprise. Well, you probably wouldn't take that job, okay? But I see people all the time say, I'm just going to retire, and I think it'll work out, right? Other people have retired that I know. It's worked out for them. You don't want to be in that situation. You don't want to just hope and pray, okay, I'm just going to retire and hope and pray it's enough. No, you don't want to be there. Because what if it's not? What if it's not? Do you want to have to go back to work? Ideally, no, right? Just doing a little planning beforehand can save you so much heartache and pain down the road, okay? So again, I've got lots of videos on how to figure out exactly what your pension is going to be at the end of the day, what you can actually take home in your pocket, spendable. That's so important to understand. I've got tons of videos on Social Security, figuring that out, plus figuring out what your TSP can provide for you in retirement. I've got videos on all of those topics. Again, go back to my website, hawsfederaladvisors.com, to dive into the ones that you think you need to learn more about so that you are set up for retirement. So those are the 5 things. Obviously, there's more. There's so many things we need to be thinking about when it comes to retirement because that's just life. There's lots of factors here. But those are the most important 5 that I am seeing right now. I'll keep you updated, certainly. There's tons of videos here on the YouTube channel or on the podcast all the time to keep you updated on what's going on and how to get the most out of your benefits every step of the way. So I hope that's helpful. Have an incredible rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time.